Are you conscious of your addiction? Refuse to be defined by it? Not satisfied with living your life on the surface? Are you drawn to deeper meaning and purpose? And believe that it's possible to grow through your addiction to experience true freedom? Well, welcome home. Share the journey from addiction to freedom with your host, Michael Gregory.
Hello again. This is Michael Gregory and another episode of Addiction to Freedom. And today I thought it might be good to share some of the content of a stop smoking kind of deep dive bonus course I'm doing for my clients. And what we were experiencing is some of our clients were kind of just getting stuck in the sense of not being motivated or having their mindset is not allowing them to engage. So, it's all well and good to have a solution, but if you can't access that solution, if you can't make yourself engage, like let's say you've got a bike there and you, for whatever reason, never get on it, never even try. You see, that kind of being stuck in that way, that's what we're looking at the moment. And I just thought this segment or this session that I'm about to do tonight with my clients might be really good to share with you. So I've written some notes here, and what I'll do is I'll just read out the note and then I'll explain it, and that'll be our video. So basically, what I'm exploring is that the reason why we get stuck is largely due to our beliefs, and I think the reason why I think that is because our beliefs are kind of operate by default. So I'll just follow my notes here. So I'm saying that, what are beliefs? If our beliefs are causing us to get stuck, what are they? So beliefs are essentially kind of a cluster of thoughts, aren't they? But they're not just any old thoughts. A cluster of thoughts might be that you might want to describe something, just describing an object. That's a cluster of thoughts, but it's not necessarily a belief, is it? So beliefs are a special type of cluster of thoughts. The reason why I think they're different is because they're a cluster of thoughts that you basically identify with, and that your awareness identifies with that group of thoughts as if it's part of you. So that's kind of what creates that powerful feeling or that powerful sense of reality about a belief, isn't it? So what's happening is that, like, first of all, I think we need to backtrack and say, just remember that we are not our thoughts. And the reason why we know that is because we can be aware of our thoughts, can't we? Like we're actually aware of the thoughts that we're thinking. So that means our awareness is in some way able to be present whether or not a thought is there. So whether or not a thought is present, our awareness is present. That means, right, we don't just disappear when our thoughts disappear, do we? Or do we? Actually, depends on what we identify with as ourselves. If we identify with, let's call it our constructed self, you might say ego, the Michael that has the name, the history, the memories, the likes and dislikes. If that is what I call me and identify with that, well, yes, that's going to disappear when there are no thoughts, because that is all constructed out of thoughts, isn't it? But yet, when the thoughts are not present and when that me kind of disappears, well, and I'm still present. Well, not I as in a word or a concept, but the awareness is present. There is present awareness. So that is what we are. Okay, so that shows us that if beliefs are made up of sets of thoughts, then we are not the belief. But remember, I said that beliefs are special groups of thoughts. They're a special group that our awareness kind of identifies with, that is what I believe. That is what is true for me. That is essentially another aspect of the constructed me. So that's what I mean when I say that, beliefs are thoughts that our awareness is identified with as part of ourself. Now, either as something that we want, so a belief is we're identifying with this cluster of thoughts, and this cluster of thoughts, this belief is either something that you want or something that you don't want, basically. For example, I might have a belief that honesty is a good thing, and that is because it is something that I've identified with as a good thing, a thing that, in a way, helps me have a more peaceful, less painful life in this flow of phenomena we call the world. Or we might say a belief is that I am not my constructed self. Well, yes, my constructed self is necessary and it operates in the world, but I know that I am not defined as or limited to that understanding. And that it's important that I know that, because there's a lot of pain associated with being identified with your constructed self, with your ego. So it's either I don't want to be identified with my constructed self as the totality of me. So that's a belief that something I don't want. That's just an example of a belief is something either that you want or don't want. Now, next step is beliefs are either passed on or inherited, or they're created from experiences. So in other words, we take on beliefs, like there's so many beliefs that we've taken on, we might call it conditioning, and we've taken on these beliefs from our parents, our family, our culture, or even our default way of kind of world constructing, the way that we see the world, which I unpacked a little bit in my previous video. So, which is a default template, or the way we handle time, which is a default kind of timeline. But we've taken on these beliefs about what the world is and what we are, and in a way that, it's just functional, but it's not the whole truth. And what happens is we're not even aware that we've taken this on. It's embedded in our language, it's embedded in our conversation, it's embedded in the beliefs of others, and the beliefs of others seem to reinforce our beliefs with all these default ways of operating. So that's the inherited stuff, the inherited beliefs. Now, we also generate beliefs through experience. Particularly strong emotion can generate a belief, or painful situations. An example of that might be if you had some trauma, then let's say a trauma was created by someone. Let's say that person was a man. Well, or a woman. Let's say it was a man, because I'm just thinking of someone I know who has had trauma, and so that creates a kind of a belief that men can betray. I mean, men or women can betray, but if you had a strong betrayal from a significant, deeply connected person, well, then you might identify their gender as, you might develop a belief around, women can hurt me, or men can hurt me, or if I'm intimate with a man or a woman, that can lead to pain. So we can generate this belief through an experience of pain, and without even realizing it, then that belief can be held subconsciously, and we can generate some fight or flight next time we become intimate or feel connected to someone. So that's perhaps a belief that's been generated from a painful experience, but you can also generate beliefs from pleasurable experiences. I'll give you an example that from my side, my experience of awareness is a very peaceful experience. And that peace and that love that's one and the same thing as our awareness that experience keeps on being reinforcing the belief that that's what we are. right? It keeps on reinforcing, the experience keeps on reinforcing that. So it changes the default belief that I am my constructed self, I am this body, I am these thoughts. It changes. And so that belief gets replaced by the truth of what we are, okay? So the next thing is that beliefs can be related to each other. So you can have a cluster of beliefs and they can all have a root belief, which in a way forms the basis of the group of beliefs. For example, let's say that, remember I did the video about handling space. And so there's a whole lot of beliefs around our perception of what the world is. And remember I was saying that, that we've got this default belief that I am here and everything else is there. All the other objects are there. They're not here exactly where I am. They're over there. And also that we create this geolocation of map in our head and we supply a lot of imagination for the things that we can't see, the things behind me that I can't see, things outside or outside the building that I can't see. We have all this imagination of what they are. And that all works because of the nature of the flow of phenomena. There is patterning and there is kind of some predictability around the flow of phenomena, but it's not actually, and so there is some truth in that, but my lived experience right now is that if I really look at the truth of that, is not that. My lived experience is that I've only ever been here, and I'm actually keeping that imagination in my mind alive as I am here, and saying that outside there is those things, those other objects. And like I said, I'm not denying that there's predictability. If I walked out there, I'd expect to see them. But for right now, the truth is that my experiencing is what I can see, what I can hear, what I can feel like, what I can touch, and my imagination and thoughts. And then I pull back from that, and it's awareness. So I'm just did that really fast, but if you want a slower version of that, go back to that other video. So then there's a set of beliefs about the way the world is, that it's all separate objects, separate to me, right? And that I am a separate constructed self, a separate object, just like all the other objects in the world. So there's a set of beliefs right there. Now, that's, like I said, beliefs can be related to each other. And so what's the root belief there? The root belief is that I am a separate self. I'm a separate object. That's the root belief. And when we unpack that, we find that that's actually not true. Well, it's true if you view it that way, and if your awareness is identified in that way. But like we said before, that separate constructed self disappears when the thoughts disappear. So, and what is there is not separate, not limited. There is no object that is not part of that awareness. So there's an example of where we have a set of beliefs and a root belief. If we deal with the root belief, in other words, we actually gain awareness of the truth of what we are, then we then see the truth of what all the other subsidiary type beliefs or related beliefs are, okay? So the next part is fight, flight, and craving can be triggered based on beliefs. And this is to protect us from what we don't want or motivate us towards what we do want. So these beliefs, this set of thoughts that our awareness is identified with, basically becomes, like, our brain loves to put things on autopilot. And like I said, we've inherited a lot of these beliefs. We don't even realize we've got them. But what happens is we start to operate on the basis of those beliefs automatically. How do we do that? Well, how does that happen? It happens, well, number one, because our awareness is identified with that. And so our awareness kind of powers action on the basis and channel, directed by that belief. And part of the mechanism is that we'll have fight or flight related to things we want to avoid. In other words, fear, which leads to either wanting to fight whatever that painful or danger is, or flight to get away from it, or we'll have craving to motivate us to get the thing that we want, the thing that belief. If the belief is that when I have that, I will be happy, then the craving comes to motivate us towards that. And these things operate subconsciously, don't they? You have a craving and you find yourself eating that thing that you decided you weren't going to eat, or doing that behavior that you really said that wasn't helpful, but you find yourself doing it again because for whatever reason, there's some kind of positive payoff for you in your current understanding, at least. So that's how fight or flight kind of motivate, or cravings motivate action and motivate our awareness to be channeled in that direction on the basis of this kind of blueprint of our beliefs. The next thing is fight or flight and cravings exist to automatically serve us according to our accumulated knowledge. In other words, let's call our set of beliefs, in a way, our default accumulated knowledge, or what we think is knowledge, what we think is true, because a belief is something that you think is true, isn't it? You by your default have your awareness identified with that as part of me, as true, let's say. So if our beliefs, so then the fight or flight will, and the cravings will automatically continue to serve us, basically, and it's to motivate us to take action in the direction of the beliefs, but it's limited by the nature of our knowledge, by the nature of our understanding that is either encapsulated by basically encapsulated by those beliefs. So these beliefs are also limiting our freedom to the extent that our beliefs are false. So if our beliefs are based on a misperception of what is true, then our freedom is going to be limited to that extent, and therefore our actions and what will be limited because of where our actions are motivated based on our false beliefs. For example, let's say I believe that I am a separate object, independent from everything that is here. Then I'm going to operate on the basis of that, aren't I? I'm going to want to gather things and keep things for the separate me, and I'm going to want to protect those things. I want to fight to protect those things. I as best I can. I want to make sure that nothing comes to hurt that separate me, or I'm going to fight to protect the separate me, or I'm going to try and get things that give that separate me some kind of perceived happiness or pleasure. And that's all based on the limited or the misunderstanding of what me is. So, and I don't have access to real deep satisfaction because my awareness is not open to that. It's limited by that belief. It's identified with that belief that I'm a separate me. But if that belief is then superseded by the belief that I am not that, and that can only be done by experiencing what I am, which is more closely related to awareness, which is not separate from anything, then we experience that peace that comes with that, and the love that comes with that, and the deep satisfaction that comes with that, the deep happiness. And we realize that I don't need anything. Nothing that could be given will increase that. Nothing can be taken away that would diminish that. So that's right there, just increased our freedom, because we now no longer need to get things or defend things. So freedom comes from aligning our beliefs with what is true. That's it. And I really hope that helps with your freedom. And I really encourage you to become aware of your beliefs and really try to unpack the truth of what your beliefs are. And I've kind of given you a bit of a root belief there, isn't it? That I'm a separate self, which we're mostly always operating from, aren't we? If we can unpack that one, then all these, so many other associated, related beliefs become clear. All right. Well, look forward to our next episode. Bye for now. Have a great day.